Nobody really looks at is how did we justify last year's budget? Did we just take 3% of inflation and pad it to the last one, which means if we did a terrible job, we're just inflating that? Or are we actually doing a zero-based review to making sure we're getting the right things?
Good piece of advice. All right, Sam, I'm going to flip that question on you. Give me some bad advice on managing your cybersecurity budget.
The easiest thing to do from a budget perspective is to just go ahead and ignore the fact that you have any budget timelines, right? And submit what you submitted from last year.
I like that. All right, Ross, one up, Sam. Give me worse advice on managing your cybersecurity budget.
If my company doesn't have enough resources, why don't I just steal the plans from my competitors in the industry vertical? So what they spent, I'm just going to copy paste in my budget.
I don't think it's actually that bad, but I like it. Let's start this.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Welcome, everybody, to Super Cyber Friday. We have a really fun discussion today and two great guests. Hacking the budget battle. We've all dealt with it at all levels, for that matter. An hour of critical thinking about how to communicate the value of your security program or to get what you need from your security program. Our two guests today, Ross Young, co-host of CISO Tradecraft, and literally just published a book on this subject. We couldn't have a more perfect person. Look, he's holding it up right there. You actually just got it in the mail, right, Ross?
Yeah, it just came in this week. Super excited.
Very excited. So you could get a print copy or you could get a digital copy. And also, Sam Jacks, who is the VP of Clinical Engineering for McLaren Healthcare, a frequent guest with the CISO series. Sam, thank you so much for joining us as well. All right, let me just quickly explain all the different ways to participate. We have our chat room that you all know. We also have the 10% better tip. I want you guys to take advantage of it. Do a hashtag 10P to give us tips on making a better case for budget or just managing your budget in general. You can join us on camera. Just bring me on, and we'll try to bring you on camera. Ask questions of our guests. You'll see right under the sort of the chat window icon, there's two question, bubbles there on top of each other. Go ahead and click on that. You can ask questions of our guests, and you can also vote on your favorite guests. All right, this is our schedule for today. We had to pull an audible just moments beforehand, but we did our good advice, bad advice, worse advice. We're going to get the better case for budget or managing budget. We're going to play the public interest. We will give out a prize for that. We are not going to play Give Me Budget. We're going to be playing another game, which will be Fantasy CISO. Then last questions answered. Then we'll have our meetup. And our meetup is our face-to-face time we get to have with everybody on video. So stick around for that. It happens at the very end of the show. You say exactly where you are, and that's where we do that. And then just very quickly, I want to mention our next show will be after Thanksgiving week. So no show next Friday because it's the day after Thanksgiving. But hacking AI data readiness, an hour of critical thinking about what you have to do before you turn on your shiny new tool. And if you look above the chat window, there's a hacking AI data readiness register button. But also, I should also make a point to say that here it is as well, right big there on stage. You can just click the register button. It will open up another window. It will not take you out of this at all whatsoever. You can register for that and still be in the chat. Please do that. It'll be available all the time. And also, I'll put up a reminder of where to get Ross's book. We'll be talking about that in just a second. And then, like I said before, stick around for our meetup at the very end of the show. And can you get rid of that? Perfect. All right, Ross, Sam, let's discuss budget. Let's just start with the really basic question. Everyone struggles with budget, whether you're cybersecurity or not. I'll start with you, Ross. Why is this so difficult for cybersecurity professionals?
I think the biggest thing is most people are never really taught on how to do it. So take the career of an average cybersecurity practitioner. Maybe they're on the pen test side, they're in GRC, they're in, some technical place usually when they first start. And they're learning how to do things more technical, right? How to break into more systems, how to secure more systems, how to comply with more regulations. At no point in time are they actually taught Like, here's how to do a budget line item. Here's, the approval authorities, and here's how to go through procurement and all of these weird nuances that suddenly you have to do when you manage that program. And it is just oh my gosh, I have no idea how to do this. But if I don't get it right, we're going to have no budget, no tools, no things that we need to do.
Sam, like, when did this all of a sudden, sort of awaken you and go, oh my God, I now have to deal with this? Like, was it like a shock and surprise, like what Ross described?
No, I agree 100%, right? You're taking technical people and you're making them, right, managers, right? And there's no easy transition for that. I think the other thing a lot of people struggle with is, even if I can get the manual hitting the buttons piece down, right, and understanding what the process looks like, you then have to justify, right, what you're asking for. And that really takes a good storyteller, right? You either have to attach your budget to your organizational's goals, you have to attach your budget to some horrible outcome that's going to happen. And technical people traditionally aren't great storytellers, right? They will tell you in a very technical way what's going to happen, but that doesn't resonate with the CFO. That doesn't resonate, right, with non-technical folks. And so they really struggle with this.
All right. So I want to walk through some advice that and experiential and I'd love to hear. I, First of all, I can't assume that you've always gone swimmingly well with your budgets. So I'd love to hear, fail stories and success stories back and forth. So let's start. I always like to start with the fail story. What is the dumbest, biggest mistake you screwed up for yourself, Ross, when working on a budget?
I thought the hardest part was getting the budget approved. And actually, that is the easiest thing to do. The hardest part is actually getting through master service license agreements and contracts. So imagine you have $500,000 approved to buy this new tool. But now your lawyers get to bicker like divorce attorneys with their lawyers from the OEMs and the vendors because they don't like the terms of the contract. You want unlimited liability. They're not going to give that to you. And then back and forth they go, and they're collecting their lawyer fees, particularly if you outsource your legal in your company. And so I didn't realize, even though I was approved for budget, I was going to drag 6 to 9 months to get that budget through procurement. And in the meantime, then everybody kept bugging me. How come you haven't spent your budget? How come, this month? And they did every single month. And you're like, I can't spend what hasn't been through procurement. So that was a huge awakening for me.
I have a funny story to say about that. First, I want to hear your fail story, but would you agree with Ross's comment that it's not about the actual approval, it's the actual connecting the dots?
Yeah, yeah, and I'll agree. The contracting piece of it is like, right, a red hot poker to your eye. I mean, it is just abhorrent.
So I'll tell you a quick funny story. As a contractor, it's the same experience for us in that I know that I would have the discussions and negotiations with really big companies, and their first question they would ask me is, "Are you an approved vendor?" Because if I'm an approved vendor, we'll hand you whatever money you want. If I'm not an approved vendor, then it becomes a nightmare for them to get me on board. And they don't want to talk to me at all. So I just remember when I became an approved vendor for like VMware and with IBM, it was like home free at that point. But yes, I understand from both sides what it looks like. It's a big story. All right, I want to hear your biggest mistake you made on trying to get budget, or just with the whole budget ecosystem. Excuse me.
So when I first started, I didn't quite understand the budgeting to accrual to actually when it hits your PL, right, process, right? So
Mhm.
I would have vendors who just didn't bill, right? They would do the work, they would go ahead and we would get through contracting, bless that process. But we actually never got an invoice for them, right? And so uh, what happened, right, is that invoice fell into the next fiscal year, in which I did not budget for that piece in the next fiscal year. And it was in the previous fiscal year. So fundamentally, understanding exactly how the entire budgeting process and AP kind of attaches to the end of that, so that you can ensure that you actually get all of your payments in the year that you actually have the budget in, is something, right, young people going into management for the first time just don't understand. Part of the last month and a half of fiscal year is calling all your vendors, going, "Where is my invoice? Give me my invoice. Like I need to be paying you because right, I don't have money for you next year."
Well, again, speaking from the contractor side, this can be good and bad. I remember actually IBM did this with me once in that they had a certain chunk of money they needed to spend, and they told me what it was, and it was actually triple what I normally charged. And I said, "Yes, I can do that for you." And I did. And it's something, a video I produced, and they never published it. They just want to pay me. That's it. So I went, did it, never got published. Well, there you go. Whatever it is. All right. We have questions that have already come in, already a bunch of questions. So please get more questions in from Aman Sood, who asks, is cybersecurity underfunded or just badly funded, or is it a bit of both? I'm sure you tackle this in your book, Ross. What do you say?
I think it depends. I know that's the classic answer, but I think the biggest
Mhm.
thing is we don't understand the risk tolerance of the leadership. So, for example, we may say, hey, my peers all spend 10% of IT on cyber. We must spend 10%. But if the leadership team says, you know what, we're actually very risk, willing, and we're willing to accept only 5% of the budget, and we're going to pocket this 5% so we can be more profitable, that is a totally valid justification going forward. You may not like it from a security perspective, but from a risk and, profitability perspective, it makes a lot of sense. So I think we need to say, not are we overfunded or underfunded, but do we really understand the risk willingness of our leadership team?
That's a good. Now that's a good question. The asking of it, but like Sam, do you feel over time you're starting to understand the sort of the level of risk your leadership team is willing to take?
I don't use those words. So here, I'll give you guys the words that I use so that I can
Hmm.
understand what's most important to my leadership team.
Right.
I will ask them what is material to them, right? So and it doesn't matter from a finance perspective, we're in healthcare, from a patient safety perspective, if this happens, right, is this the most important thing in the organization, right? Am I going to lose 20% of my revenue? Am I going to kill patients? Whatever it is, that is what I have to protect, right? From a priority perspective. If that's the only thing I have to focus on, that's what I've got to focus on. Everything else can go off the side of the table, right? And do exactly what Ross is saying, right? Either save money or whatever downstream impact you have. We use materiality as opposed to risk tolerance, but it's the same concept in different words.
Very, very good point. This question for Chris is right on the money. And I actually remember doing this, helping a vendor out with just this issue before I started CISO series from Chris Snyder over at Quadrant Information Security. How can I, as a salesperson, help CISOs with justifying budget when I'm trying to sell them security solutions? I have some current methods, but curious about your recommendations. Chris, we would like to hear what those are. Please let us know. Um, but I mean, I'm sure the two of you have situations where you really want to use a vendor's product, but you have to figure out a way to sell it in. Let's hear it from you. What Ross? Start with you.
I usually use a couple of common questions. What problem does this solve?
Hmm.
And then the second question is, why is this an urgent problem that we need to fund this initiative in the next 3 to 6 months? Because if it's not an urgent problem, I've got 20 other problems I already got to deal with, and this is just never going to be funded and spent time on. So really go back to those things and just take the example of something in 2026. EU AI Act is going into effect as of August. And if you do not comply with that, you will get EU AI Act fines and fees. I don't like fines and fees, so I'm going to build a program to stop those things and make sure we're compliant. That's kind of how I like to phrase things.
Very good example. Sam, what have you done?
Yeah, both of those things work wonderfully, and then I'll add if it aligns to some organizational priorities, right? So,
Hmm.
not only right is it the right time, and is it the right effort to do right now, but additionally, is there something I can tie it to that's not just security, right? How does it help the bigger, broader organization? Because security for security's sake isn't selling anymore, right? You need to really have a much larger picture on how it's helping the overall organization from a functional perspective, from an operational perspective, in order to really upsell exactly whatever you're trying to get into the door.
And in fact, I believe Ross, you've been on the show. I don't know, Sam, but we have a show, Security You Should Know. And one of the questions we make our vendors answer at the beginning of the show is, how do I explain your product to my CEO? Like, give me the business reason why you exist. And that I'm sure helps. And I didn't see the chat to see if Chris jumped in. Chris injected, but Chris, did you jump in and explain? I want to hear your explanation of what you do. Please jump in. All right, more wonderful questions. Oh, what time are we at now? Oh, we've got something more important to do. It's time to play the public interest. Let's load it up.
Do you know what others are
Josh.
thinking? On the public
All right.
interest.
So everybody, here's what I want you to do. If you look at the icons on the icons where all the chat bubble, there's one that's second at the end, which is your Kahoot button. I'm going to enter this on. So what you're going to do, you're going to click on that Kahoot icon, and you're going to type in the number right here, which you see 285-7236. And I want my contestants, my guests, Sam and Ross, to do this as well. And you'll type your name in as well. And I'm telling you right now, we are giving away a prize, a CISO Series jacket, or if you don't get a CISO Series jacket, it's our next game we can't do it for. But, and everyone's competing, by the way. Ross and Sam, you are totally competing here as well. We are actually opening up a whole store. So if you already have a jacket, we have other stuff that you can pick for. And God willing, that store is going to be opened up in a week or two because we're moving forward with it. And I've actually got gifts to other people as well. All right, we got people loading up. I'm going to do the 10-second countdown. And if you're not in, you're out. But just to remind you, this is the public interest. The geez, I hope it's really, is it blurry for you guys? We're getting a blurry screen from you, Josh. Is it blurry for you, Ross and Sam?
Yeah.
It's a little blurry, but we can see it.
We can see it still. All right. So just so you know, you'll see it'll make perfect sense to you. I think you've both played the game before. But all right, here's your 10-second countdown for everybody else. 10, 9, 8, get in there, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody's in. Oh, we got 2 in the last second. Good. Let's begin. Go for it. All right. And you're going to answer right in where the chat bubble is. Remember, accurate answers first, then speed, and we'll determine who wins here. And I haven't seen this, so that's why I'm competing. Okay, CapEx. Ooh, that's a good one. Holy crap. That is a good one, CapEx or OpEx. Oh, I got it right with CapEx. How'd you do, Ross and Sam?
Oh, I'm in
Not
sixth
so
place.
good. Note there are 2 Rosses. Somebody else put Ross Young 2026. I am Mr. Vegas, just in case you're wondering.
Who put in Ross Young 2026? Who isn't Ross Young? I want to know who that is. All right. CapEx almost double. Wow. All right. I guess people like their CapEx better. I'm 1 for 1 so far. I feel good about this. Allocation, depreciation, amortization. Oh, you have to also, this one you had to hit the submit button too. Sometimes they makes you hit a submit button. I don't know why. Partially correct.
Ugh.
Oh, there were 2 were probably the same. Sometimes we get 2 that have the exact same number. Yeah.
Maybe I should have went with my clone and not given my real pseudo here. Much better than me.
I'm in 4th right now. Yeah, 2 are that happens. We do get sometimes 2 have the same numbers. So I did get half right there. So I'm technically 2 for 2 so far. I'm feeling good. Premiums assessment or mitigation. All right. Ooh, I, like many other people, thought it was premiums. Only 2 people picked assessment. All right, who's moving? Doc Drew on fire.
Wow.
Could take this away. Oh, my God. Doc, you could take this one. All right. Last one. Oh, my God, assessment. It was double premiums. We all thought it was premiums. Oh, we blew that one. All right, here we go. What's the list? ROI, KP. Oh, let's see. Here's the thing, that acronym could be something else you don't know, and it could confuse you. KPI wins. And I, like everybody else, thought it was ROI. No, not good. Look at the KPI double. No. All right, who's the winner? Did Doc Drew win? 2 out of 4 come in third. That's how tough this game was. 2 out of 4 came in second. And number 1 is 2 out of 4 won. This is Doc Drew, looks like. Yep. Andrew Aiken does it again. Good job. Good job. I think actually I owe you 2 now. Prize. Congrats. All right. Just ping me. I believe we actually already owe you 1. So you'll get to pick 2 items coming up soon. All right. We got plenty of questions come in. Thank you. Remember, let's get I don't know, have you put down 10% better tips? I know I saw one before. Josh, do me a favor. You're finding the 10% better tips. Let's put them to the screen, let other people see them. All right. We have lots more good questions here. Let me mark that one was answered. Okay, let's try this one. All right. We're going to start with you, Sam, since you brought this up. Agnidipta. Oh, God, I'm going to say Agnidipta sarkar. My apologies for butchering that. Considering material impact is especially important during cyber attacks. Well, it's important all the
You're
time.
going to lose your business otherwise. So yeah,
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah. Does it make sense to determine what the acceptable levels are? I would assume so. And does it make sense to balance it with the amount of business that you can keep unaffected during breaches? So, I'm assuming, like, in healthcare, this is a big thing. You think about the airline industry, I think about healthcare, there are like unacceptable losses. So, but there still may be a range of that that is uncomfortable to talk about, but you do have to talk about it. Yes, Sam?
Yeah, and I would argue it's in any industry, right? I
Right.
mean, God forbid there ever be right an issue with the banking industry, right? And we're not able to pay our employees, right? That's a never event, right? You absolutely have to be able to pay your employees because otherwise they're not going to show up. You have workarounds to that. None of them are good, none of them. But fundamentally, right, you have to figure out how you're going to continue moving on should some never event like that occur. Every industry has those material like things that they have to plan for. If you don't have a mitigation plan around them, your organization's not going to survive.
Yeah. So you do have to have the worst case scenario
Mhm.
mitigation plan. And
But it
it's
doesn't have to be 100% mitigated, right? You don't have to go
right.
back to perfect. You just have to fly by enough to survive through the
Survival mode.
event and until you get your stuff back
Right.
up to
And let me ask you a question about this, because I've mentioned this before on the show. I remember I talked to one CISO, and he just extremely casually just said, "What's the longest you can go without being connected to the internet?" And they said, just like offhand, 48 hours. Then they had an incident where they were disconnected and they realized, no, not even an hour. Like, it was like, because you can't ask it that casually. So how do you sort of find out what that breaking point is? Like, how do you calculate it, Sam?
so ultimately, I hate to tell you, right? We all say what we can do, but until you actually drill and
Yeah.
practice, you have no idea, right? And then
So you
in
have to
reality,
drill.
until it actually happens, right? Even your drills and practices aren't enough. You find stuff that you missed. But if you're not doing tabletop exercises, if you're not actually implementing your downtime procedures and practicing them, you have no idea, right? You're pulling a number out of the air, essentially.
All right. What do you add to this, Russ?
So I don't think it's the CISO's responsibility to determine materiality. I think that falls squarely under the chief financial officer. So I think you have a conversation with them to say, what is a material change? Is it 5 million? Is it 10 million? Tell me what the number is for our company. And they're going to tell you a number, right? And once you know that number, now you kind of have to say, if this event were to happen, do we think it's going to be greater than that number or less than that number? And then you can kind of, put some things in. Okay, this is a material threat that can cause material harm, a i.e., greater than the $10 million my chief financial officer told me. And here's what I'm going to do about it. This is my plan to remediate that material threat. Do we want to spend the money on this, or are we going to, roll the dice at Vegas and see how it plays out?
Well, and I would even add, it's sometimes not even the CISO's responsibility to mitigate that threat. Those downtime plans are sometimes the operational owner's responsibility, right? We can protect, but we don't necessarily put the downtime plans in place.
All right, I want to give you a little plug here for your awesome book that just came out. Oh, so what? It's cut off. It's cybersecurity's dirty secret, right? I'm sorry. The word we didn't do, but why most budgets go to waste. But it says above the word dirty secret. It's not just called dirty secret, although that would hold it up there. Cybersecurity's dirty secret. Why most budgets go to waste. Get a copy of Ross's book. You click that buy now button that takes you straight to the Amazon. You can add it to your wish list. Buy now. At bare minimum, just put it on your wish list. At bare minimum, so just click the button where it says buy now. Put it on your wish list, or go ahead and buy it right away. You can buy. Is it on Kindle too,
It's
Ross?
on all the Amazon platforms. So you can get an ebook on Kindle, you can buy a paperback, you can buy a hard copy. The only thing I haven't done yet is an Audible, but that'll be coming at some point.
All right. The book is amazing, says Dustin Sachs. And in fact, I'm quoted on the back of the book too. I read some of the book too, and I liked it as well. So please do that. And by the way, let me also show again, if you have not registered for next week's event, go ahead and click that register button. Remember, it does not take you out of this group out of this chat at all. It'll open up another window. You do about it. Tell your friends to come too. Tell them to come. Okay. I am thrilled that we've got lots of really good questions. I like this one that just came in from Aman Sood to, hold on, where was this one? Let me show this one. What budget mistakes do you see companies repeating year after year? This one I like. I'm going to throw this one to you first, Ross. What do you see being repeated all the time?
I think companies don't do a good job of killing bad projects and bad programs fast enough. And I
Good point.
introduced the concept of a murder board. If you were to take the 50 or 80 tools that you use in your organization, what percent of coverage do you have? Do you have your EDR on 90% of the endpoints or 80% of the endpoints? And then what percent of the features do you have turned on? Do you have all 10 important features or only 5 of the important features because they create too much traffic? And now when you multiply that, we have 90% coverage and we only have 50% of the features turned on. You have a 45% effective protection score. That's what I call it. And I think when we start looking through this across our 80 different tools, we get to really see some big aha moments like, oh my gosh, we're paying all this money for this tool that really has very little protection. Why are we doing this? Can we get to a better implementation, or are we just going to get rid of this tool that's sucking money out of our budget from other things we want to do?
Really good point. And I'll mention Adam Glick, CISO Adam Glick. He told me, and we did a whole episode of Defense in Depth on this. He literally just created an Excel spreadsheet of the products he had, all the features, and just so he could see what did he have that had duplicate features, and he couldn't turn them off overnight. But it became the process of how do we unload these, how do we get rid of these, or renegotiate. All right, I throw this to you, Sam. Biggest
Yeah.
mistakes that are repeated year after year.
Yeah, I'll double click on Ross's stuff. I think we also have products that overlap a whole ton. And we've chosen them because they're point solutions, right? And we have too many tools that do the same thing, right? And it creates workflow slowdowns, right? And choke points, to be honest with you, because we haven't looked at our workflow and tried to map out exactly how many things we need to touch to do something. And so, overlaying on Ross's thing, I'd say we really need to look at the operational workflow of what our staff is doing and try and simplify that. And so, if I could kill a couple of applications, if I could merge a couple of products, right, and pick the better product as opposed to having two that does the same thing, right, you immediately see savings on the bottom line from your budget.
And I'm sure the business loves to see that too. Yes, as well. All right. This one is an interesting one from Gary Longstein, and this is about long-term planning. How can an enterprise budget for long-term but high payoff investments in cybersecurity, such as refactoring auth systems away from phishable factors to passkeys, or refactoring a code base to memory-safe languages like Rust or Swift? I will start with you, Sam, on this. Just essentially, probably the big one would probably be passkeys these days. I know a lot are trying to move that. How do you build a long-term plan for this stuff.
Yeah, this is run before you walk, right? So anything that we're trying to do that is a huge long-term strategy, you have to chunk it into pieces. You have to start with a pilot plan. You have to show the value of what the pilot plan looks like. And once you can prove and show, right, how much easier it is, right, not from a cybersecurity perspective, but from an operational perspective and exactly what you're getting from it, you can then incrementally improve it, right, year over year over year, right, and actually get to where you need to be. Now, you guys have to understand that these big projects can't occur in a year or two. You have to have a 3 to 5 year roadmap to get to where you need to be. And you need to be doing stuff every one of those 3 to 5 years. You can't wait till the end to try and smash it all in because that's just
Mhm.
not going to work.
I like the chunking it out. Ross, what's your long-term plan?
So I really like to use this thing called a nine box, which is you have basically a matrix where you have low, medium, high on an X and a Y axis. But what I use on the X axis is the company's ability to implement. How confident do we think building the brand new project we're going to be able to implement? We feel highly confident or low confidence. And then on the Y axis, I actually like to put something that says, will this reduce the maintenance costs to perform this function in my organization? Because if I feel highly confident I can build this project and it's going to save us a lot of money, oh my goodness, that is just a no brainer. We should
Mhm.
absolutely do this. But if I have low confidence and we're going to do something that has, a low ability to really help our organization, well, that's just, the disaster zone. Why am I going to go down that approach going forward? Right.
By the way, Aman Sood mentions I use the cyber defense matrix to showcase coverage. Yes, a classic. We are fans of that as well. Um, all right, let's get to the next question. We have lots of good questions came here. What was the one I saw? That was, oh, yeah, Moran Sood's one right here. Moran Sit. I'm sorry, I say Sood. I'm confusing Moran Sood with Moran Sit. Murad Sit. Thank you. Are we budgeting for IT growth or IT resilience? That is an interesting thing because you're trying to help grow the IT and also trying to build a more resilient program. This, I think, goes to an earlier question we asked, and I'll start with you, Sam, of um, having the vendor help us sell this in. So if it's, yeah, like you said, if it's just a security play, it's going to need something more than just that. So would
Yeah,
would
so
we
I
say
don't think it's
yes
an
to
either.
both of Murad's comments here, growth
Yeah,
and resilience?
I don't think it is. I don't think it's an either or question, right?
Right.
Growth is something we're all going after, which is fine. But fundamentally, we're
Oops.
all in the middle of a transformation, right? IT is not growing; we're changing, right? There's a ton of stuff coming down the pike, and we're fundamentally changing the way we do our jobs, right? We talked about passkeys. I mean, we're all worried about quantum that's coming. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's coming. Fundamentally, I don't see the way we're changing our operations as being different from building resiliency. If you're not doing the two things side by side with every project that you're implementing, you're missing a big piece of it. You only have so much budget. You can't wait to do right one and then the other. You have to be doing them together as you implement new projects as you go. Otherwise, right, you're never going to get to phase 2 of your project and you're going to miss a whole step. And usually it's the resiliency step, right? We never actually plan for resiliency until it hits us, and then we're down, and we have nothing to help us.
Ross,
You know,
IT resilience, IT growth.
I'm more focused on the resilient side. What I like to
Well,
do is
understandably, you're working in security.
I like to build a service catalog. These are
Hmm.
the services we are going to offer. Understandably, every service costs money. I have to have headcount, I have to have tools, I have to implement a process. And if I don't have money, I'm not offering these services. And so when they come in and say, "Hey, Ross, we want you to do AI security." Great. Here's what the service is going to cost. Do we want to do it to improve our resiliency, or are we not funding this initiative? So I think that's how I like to play things a little bit.
By the way, if you didn't see this, make sure you make that available. Oh, someone did post it, your LinkedIn post. Yes, excuse me. Lyle wants to share your book on LinkedIn, and in fact, it was posted by the CISO series. right there. So I think that's it. Is it? Yeah, cybersecurity's dirty secret. So yes, that link is right there. Here, in fact, I'll show it on the stage. Although I don't. Can you click on that? Yeah, you can. You can click on that right now, and go ahead, everybody. Share Ross's book. Share Ross's book, please. We're trying to sell copies. We're getting a commission on this, right, Ross?
I
Uh,
can't wait to see you again there. I will buy you a drink. Absolutely.
that's my commission check. It's a drink. All right. There was this really good question from Darius that I want to get answered. Here we go. And this is good. Darius, who's in the market, who I know he's out here in San Diego. Why would a CISO choose to spend their funds on a new technology over newly hired cybersecurity professional? What are some of the factors to consider? I think there is a lot more that doesn't allow the CISO to make that decision. Also, I know headcount is a big thing. Like, just in general, walk us through budgets set aside for people and budgets set aside for tools. How does that sort of work itself out, Sam?
Yeah, so in our organization, right, there's a whole process around the people budgeting versus, right, the expense budgeting. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other industries, but people are a difficult ad, right, in our
Yes.
organization and our generally in our field. You really have to understand what the workload is, and you have to have metrics and data to understand why you need another headcount. Now, we're all great in cybersecurity with metrics, right? We have dashboards, we have data, we have all kinds of stuff to show why there is so many more vulnerabilities or whatever it is that you're trying to get a headcount for. You can try and go the data route to add headcount. That's perfectly fine. I think the question is more around, right, how do you balance asking for an FTE to do X versus, right, asking for a new product that'll give you Y? And I'll go back to something Ross said, right? This is another 9-box exercise, right? What is more important for your organization, right? From a resiliency perspective, from a security perspective, right? Is that person going to bring more value in security, or is the tool going to bring more value and security? And when you're really looking at a bottom line total dollar budget, right, the expense is going to hit one way or the other. You have to figure out which one you're going to argue for based on what your goals are from a departmental perspective.
Okay, so let me pause you on that, and I want to hear from both of you because this is just more just talking about people like Darius trying to break into the industry right now. Because one of the things that we hear is, first of all, how incredibly difficult the market is right now for people. Like, I run this San Diego cyber group. I ask people to raise your hand if you're looking for work. It's always much higher than the number of people who raise their hand saying, I'm hiring. So would a variation of what you just said, Sam, work for someone actually trying to come in? Like, Sam, if you hired me, I can do this, this, and this, which can provide this, whatever it is. Like, I am the argument for why you don't want to buy a tool because of what I can bring. And I don't know what the answer is. But I don't even know, but is that a way someone could argue their way into a business? I don't even know. Could it?
I mean, if I had an open position, it'd be a way to go ahead and
Right, but if you
right.
don't have one, it's like,
But
like,
to open a net new position just by you coming to me to say, "Hey, I can come do this," it's so much more complicated than that to
yeah, I
actually
know.
get a
I'm
get a
just wondering
position
if that's
open.
even possible because, you know, I know it's so freaking difficult, but at the same time, one thing I hear from a lot of companies, maybe not yours, is we're always looking for talented people. And
Mhm.
that's the thing is like, if someone all of a sudden appears and goes, we have to figure a way to bring this person in. Has that ever happened to you, Ross? Like someone just oh my God, we got to figure a way to bring this person in. Yes.
So I've definitely seen that where there are brilliant people and you find creative ways to bring them in. So maybe you bring them in under an intern, under a co-op position, under a different place in the org, under a contractor, any way you can beg, borrow, steal to bring the right talent in because you know it's good for the company on the long haul. People will try to optimize. The big piece here that I would say is understand how to use that to your benefit. If I am capped on headcount and I want to grow a program, I can think of creative ways. Well, maybe I can, get rid of 2 people who do my SOC and I can buy an MDR solution, which is a managed SOC, And now I have 2 people that I can add to GRC or pen test or somewhere else with those headcount. So think creative in how you want to use the headcount you have, and then look for solutions where you get headcount embedded in the cost as a managed service, which can ultimately accomplish the same task.
Sam, let me just ask you just briefly, have you ever had a situation where you really wanted to hire someone and you had to be creative about how to get them in?
Yeah, and I think Ross has got some great ideas around that. Finding some type of project-based, right, role to bring them in or bringing them in under a temp contract until you can argue your way into a full, FTE, right? All of those are unique ways to try and, leverage your way into a net new FTE. Fundamentally, we do a lot of projects, right? Security has a lot of tools, a lot of projects going on. Sometimes it's easy, right, to go in the consulting door to begin with, right, and flip your consulting to long-term support of whatever product or tool you've implemented, right? Because somebody needs to end up running whatever it is you've implemented, right, on an ongoing basis. And so sometimes you can argue that. I think our CFOs and our CEOs are starting to get smart, right, related to that argument because they don't want to continually increase headcount. But if you have the appropriate project to leverage that from, that might be an option.
All right, get your questions in. We got a new game to play.
It's time to play Fantasy CISO.
All right, bring it up. No, okay. Here's how this works. All right. Uh, I don't even know from the last game, Ross, Sam, which one of you scored better on that last one? Do we know at
Oh,
all?
I did horribly. I'm sure it was Ross.
I had 0 out of all the questions, so I
You
don't
had
think you could have
0?
done worse
Okay,
than
so
Oh
me.
no,
Sam
I
goes
at least
first.
got one right.
All
Wow.
right. Russ scored 0. Okay, so Sam, you go first on this. You get to pick first. Here we have a list of controls. We're going to go back and forth. You're going to keep picking, and then we're going to have an attack. So, Sam, pick any of these controls that you could have for your security program. Essentially, you're
I'd probably go with
picking your team.
EDR. Yeah, I
EDR, so
think
that's the
EDR.
second one. EDR goes to Sam. All right, now that is off the list. You can't choose it, Ross. Pick one.
I'm going to go people. I'm going to do a security awareness and skills training program.
Oh, we were mocking that moments ago. Security.
I'll
'Cause
take backup and business continuity.
backup, that's a good one. Backup and business continuity. What do you like, Ross?
I'm thinking vulnerability management here. We're going to
All right,
keep our
where they're
stuff
building.
patched.
Hopefully, you have the budget for all this stuff. All right. What do you like, Sam?
Let me have identity and access management.
Identity access manager. Good. All right. Ross?
Let's go network segmentation and
And
micro
Mike.
segmentation.
Okay.
I can't even say that today. Wow.
Sam?
Uh, Let me have the asset management.
At the top. There we go.
Yeah,
Asset management. We got, what do we have? 3 left. Ross?
All right, let's try incident response.
Okay. It's a response. Say from the 2 left, which one do you want, Sam?
I'll take the threat intelligence integration.
All right. And then you get application software security, Ross. Now,
Perfect.
select the attack tab. Do not click the attack yet. So these are your 2 teams. Ross, just let's review, has vulnerability management, implement a security awareness and skills training program, application software security, incident response management, network segmentation, and micro segmentation. Sam has got asset management, EDR, backup and business continuity, IAM, and threat intelligence all integrated. All right, let's reveal the attack. Go ahead. What do we got here? It's a random attack. All right. An adversary has gained access to your EDR product. That means, Sam, even though you selected EDR, they're in. All right. I'm going to let you go first here. What we're going to do is we're going to put up a poll in a second, but they're going to each argue why they can better handle this attack given their team. Sam, why? And you can point to why Ross can't. Go ahead.
Oh,
So why
s-
you can and he can't.
So at least I know what I have from an asset management perspective, right? So even if my EDR is compromised, I know what I have, and I've got a backup and business continuity plan. So even if it goes down, I can continue my material operations. So right, regardless of the fact that they're in my EDR, my business is not gonna suffer for long term, right, or have some huge material effect because I've got some great business continuity plans going on.
All right. Ross, what's your argument? Why you can beat this better than Sam can?
I actually picked the incident response. So the people are going to know how to contain, know how to respond and recover. And even if my EDR product does have issues, I
Well,
have a
you don't
lot of
have
network
EDR. You don't have it. You
segmentation
don't even
and
have
micros.
EDR. So there was,
Yeah.
it didn't exist.
Yeah. So sucks to be the one
Yeah.
having EDR this week, I guess.
Well,
And he's segmented, right? Like, right? So fundamentally, oh wow.
but you don't know what you've got because you don't have asset management either, Ross.
That's right. Yeah.
So to go again, explain arguing why you can deal with this better.
So I think my people are going to be really good at responding to an EDR, issue. So when they find, hey, the EDR has been hacked, we're actually going to be able to remediate that in minutes or hours versus her not having that incident response management is going to take days or weeks.
All right. Well, okay. We're putting the poll up here. Yes, put it in the poll and stage. Okay, here's the poll. Who can better handle this attack? Is it Sam or Ross, given their thing? Unfortunately, it's blocking what was on, so you can kind of review, but you're going to have to go off of what they have. Ross is in the lead right now with 7-2. I know there's a lot more of you out there, so keep voting. And I'm going to do a 10-second countdown to figure this out, and we will determine the winner. So here we go. 10, 9, get your votes in. 8, 7, there's still more of you. 6, 5, Ross is pulling away. I'm sorry, Sam. You picked EDR and your EDR just went down. But then again, Ross doesn't even have EDR, so what does it matter? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ross is the winner. We close the poll 14-4. Good job, Ross. Congratulations on winning Fantasy CISO. You can take that down, Josh. Thank you so much. All right, good job on the game. All right, we've got a little bit of time left. All right, Ross has an entire book on this subject. Let me put this back on the screen so everyone can see this. Ross has a whole friggin' book on this right there. If you haven't clicked the buy now button and either purchase it right away or put it on your wish list, what is going wrong with you? And we also have the link for you to share that with everybody as well. Please share that book. This is, I think, a much needed book in the marketplace. Do me a favor, Ross, give me a quick pitch for the book so the audience knows as well.
So the point of the book is, what if you could read a book that costs under $50 that teaches you how to save your company thousands to millions of dollars in cybersecurity spending? Would you like to maximize the outcomes per dollar spent in cyber? I got 30 chapters to give you my 20 years of experience across CIA, Capital One, Caterpillar, some of the most amazing companies. And I can't wait for you to learn those secrets.
Ah, that's awesome. All right. That is a good advice right there. So let me also throw this out. Okay, so here's my question to you, Sam. And we'll try to get to some more questions, but let me ask you, what have we not talked about with regards to budgeting that we should have been talking about?
So I think the one thing that organizations struggle with, right, is what happens after an incident, right? A lot of CISOs will get this huge dump of funding after an incident,
Yeah.
right? And they have to figure out how to operationalize and utilize, right, that additional influx of money. And I think it's hard, right? We've all been trying to uh, operationalize the small budget that we have. And now all of a sudden an event happened, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. And we now have to secure a whole bunch of other things. And I think a lot of people struggle with going from a very small budget to a very big budget, and figuring out how to implement that very quickly. Right, because now the risk of the organization has changed in a very short amount of time. And I think, again, trying to figure out exactly how you prioritize and finding the right partner to help implement so that you can do it in an appropriate time frame is incredibly important in that transitory phase, right after an event.
That is a really, really good point. Do you have by the way, do you have a chapter about budget after a breach, Ross?
I don't have a one on budget after a breach, but there is a chapter on what are the most costly things to get rid of. And what you actually learn is not all budget cuts are equal. Some actually are much more likely to cause breaches in the future.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask the same question I just asked Sam too, and you had a whole book on the thing. So, what is the one thing we didn't talk about, or probably the one thing about budgeting just most people just miss, don't think about, not top of mind that they should be thinking about?
I like to use this concept called total cost of ownership. The
Hmm.
labor costs plus the hosting costs, think of AWS fees, plus the licensing costs of software. And the secret in that equation is the labor costs.
Right.
Within labor costs, there's two pieces. There's the new features, how much time will we spend on building something new and cool, and the operations and maintenance. And what I find is on most of the projects, we're spending 80% of our time on maintenance, and that only leaves us 20% for new features. So if we can go from fixing 80% to now only fixing 20 or 30%, we have all that headcount that we can apply back to more productive things for our organization. And you don't know that unless you actually start measuring the maintenance and O&M on all your IT projects. So that's a really powerful concept that if you do it, can save you a ton of money.
All right. Oh, let me show this as we do our close here, present on stage, and I'm going to come right back. We got some more questions here. Join us this Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern for Department of No. We have moved our Friday weekend review show. It is now a Monday because we kicked the week off. We're going to have Keith Townsend, host of who's CTO advisor, and also we'll have Howard Holton, CEO of Gigome, one of our regulars. We love having him on. This is just so you know, the reason for this show, why it's on Monday, is now it's a show to watch to say, okay, the past week's news, what does it mean to my security program now? You can participate live and literally be part of that conversation, discuss it with others, or just listen to it via your normal podcast stream on cybersecurity headlines. It's all part of the same stream as well. I want to remind you that next week, we didn't put the announcement of the show the next week, but next week I'll just sort of to remind you, I'm going to put it the call to action in the bottom of the corner. Join us for Hacking AI Data Readiness. That is going to be not next week. I'm sorry, 2 weeks from now, because nothing after Thanksgiving, but 2 weeks from now. Please join us for that. Now, stick around for our meetup. We'll have breakout rooms right after this show. If you have not joined us for this is really a fun time. Ross will be there. Sam will be there. I will be there. Many others will be there. Our regulars will be there. Please join us. We want to hear from you. We can continue this conversation, have conversations, anything you want to talk about. Please stick around for that. And then lastly, the last one is I want to mention if you want to sponsor one of these events, we have all of 2026 open. We're sold out for 2025, but we have 2026 open. So we would love if you would join us for that. All right. Now we have 8 minutes left. And there was a really good question I like from Aman Sood. Let me get to that question. Hold on. Where was that one? Here it is. Now, the answer to this is obviously yes, where it says, are we security professionals becoming addicted to buying tools because that is easier than improving business processes? Yes. Easier. One thing I've learned in business, by the way, it is far easier to get someone to pay you money than to get them to actually do something. I've consistently seen that happen. But the vendors, of course, would want us to believe that this tool will solve your problem. But how do you look? I'll start with you, Sam. How do you look at your environment and go, is this a process problem or a problem that can be solved with the tool?
You have to understand what the problem is, right? So
Mhm.
fundamentally, right, asking the 5 whys, if you're going to go back to management 101, right? Why is this happening? Right? Why? Once you really get down to the root cause, right? Sometimes it's people, right? People are not following the appropriate process. The process doesn't allow people to do what they need to do appropriately. They don't have the right information, they don't have the right data, there's something wrong with the process to make it difficult. And when something's difficult, people don't follow the process, right? We all do this in our daily life, right? If we come up against a barrier, we find a way to go around the barrier, right?
Mhm.
And so Once you understand what the process looks like and what's actually happening within the process, you can understand, is it a people problem? Is it a process problem? Right? Or is it in fact a tool problem? Right? Is the tool so clunky you have to click the button 50 times, whatever it is, right? You can understand where your issue is from a problem perspective. We love to throw technology as a solution to either people problems, process problems, or technology problems, but tools only solve technology problems.
Good
Yeah,
point.
when I was a CISO, I came into an environment where we were patching in a very slow time frame, and I really wanted to expedite that. And yes, I could have bought another tool to try to secure things, but what really worked was tying incentives. So I went to the CIO and I said, "Hey, I want my yearly bonus to be based on, do we hit our patching numbers? Think of like $100,000 at risk if we do not hit patching across IT. And I have no ability to control this because I don't have hands-on keyboard access to any of these things." And he said, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Can we agree? I have no access. So I want the same goal to be cascaded to every IT manager in the organization." And he said, "Let's do it." And now, when it's October, November timeframe, and everybody sees their bonuses are going to be impacted if they don't do patching, guess what gets prioritized and done? Freaking patching, right? Because people like their Christmas bonuses for the year. And so those sorts of things I think are really, really key here, right? The ability to involve people with clear incentives, with gamification techniques, bringing in briskets to reward people, things like that are not tools and can have a lot more impact than just buying a shiny tool.
Very, very good point. Um, what was I going to say? Now I just blanked out. All right, we are just a few minutes, so I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I want to thank you, Ross and Sam, for coming. Please register for our event that's happening in 2 weeks. Everyone have a great Thanksgiving. Oh, excuse me. Before I wrap up, you did mention something about tying your raise. You posted this on Reddit. I have not looked at the answers. Have there been any really good answers there on that post?
I haven't seen as many. So in case anybody doesn't know the question, I asked a bunch of CISOs to say, how are you bonused? Right? At the end of the year, what is it you wrote that says you're going to get, your bonus doubled or single multiplier at the end of the year? And I think that's a really important question because how CISOs are incentivized is what actions are going to perform during the year and what they're going to focus on. And I'm seeing a lot of people have more high level ones of we're going to focus on the ARR of the company and not really cyber goals. So I think that's a really interesting observation.
Can you do me a favor? Can you quickly right now? We'll just give you a few seconds. Can you find that post and just paste it in the chat room right here?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll put it there.
Yeah, because I think that's a great question because one of the things that we talk about a lot on the CISO series in general is just career growth for security leaders and CISOs, and you know just because, oh, great, you just pasted in there. Everyone quickly click on that. And please throw in your thoughts on that as well, or just track it or share it, put it on LinkedIn as well. In fact, I'll get it up on LinkedIn soon. I think it's a fascinating question to be asking. It's excellent. All right. Now I want to say thank you very much. Everybody, stick around. You're there. Please stick around. I want you to stick around for the meetup. I want to chat with you. I'm pointing right at you, the person who's about to click away and say, no, I'm not joining. I don't want to talk to David and Ross and Sam face to face. You are going to talk to us face to face. I don't care what you think. That's what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Ross, thank you so much for this conversation. Sam, thank you as well. Thank you, our audience as well. Join us in 2 weeks, but stick around right now. We're all going to chat.